I want to introduce LENA SCOTT. LENA has been working with me around the issues of social media for over a year now, kind of off and on, but really on in the last couple months. And she's doing a certificate program in search engine marketing and search engine optimization. And she's put a ton of time into some tips and some explanation around what a social media strategy actually looks like. So please join me in welcoming LENA SCOTT.
Okay, a couple of things before we get started. I am not going to be able to move around too much because there's a bunch of cords here. So I'm not going to be one of those like hopping around dynamic sort of individuals at this point because I will fall down if I do that. So I might try to move around a little bit just so my legs get a break. But and I've got some notes to keep me focused, so I'm going to be holding on to those. This PowerPoint will be uploaded to SlideShare. So if you have a SlideShare account, you can look for it there. So if you have like more extended questions or you don't get the most out of this, it'll be a fairly quick presentation. But if you have more questions, you can go look at it there. And if you don't know, what SlideShare is or you don't have an account with SlideShare yet, then I can show you how to set that up. It's really easy. It's free. And it's social. That's very true. I have started with a quote, which I just love this quote, and it's the focus of my presentation is your unique contribution to the marketplace and the value that you can offer as a small business. So I want you to think of content marketing as an active investment with tangible returns. It's an activity with a purpose, and it generates messages with a purpose. The purpose of these messages and conversations is to share your gift and invite others to collaborate and participate in that value. So it's all about what you have to offer. This is a very bright picture, this next slide. Oh, it came up really bright on this, not as bright on my laptop. So this is the name of my company and this is what I do. So this is just a small list or bit to help you with your social media, SEO, building a community around your products and services and getting found on the internet once you do that. So I'll go ahead and pop back past this, and if you guys have more questions about that or want more information, I can refer to that next. So let's jump right in. Are you guys familiar with the term content marketing? It's what lives on your website. It's the specific messages that you send out, usually in the digital environment. So it's the specific messages you are trying to convey, and here are some of the vehicles that your content lives on that will carry your message out. They can be thought of as tools to help you create your content, because some of these, like blogs, for example, you can go to WordPress and they'll help you create that content. It's a platform. And then these messages are tailored to appeal to a specific audience. They should impart information which includes answers to basic questions or addresses the needs of your audience, and should demonstrate how you can provide valuable service to solve a problem that may be specific to your audience. So these are, blogs are something that people are very familiar with. E-newsletters, maybe, if you've ever received one of those, that's a content vehicle. And social media marketing is important to content marketing because you create the content and then you share it on social platforms. So like Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn and stuff like that. So does anybody have any questions so far about what that means, or no? Okay. All right. This is like my favorite picture. This is what I remember when I get overwhelmed with all of the information that I could produce or am reading and in processes. So it's the keep it simple, sweetie rule, and that's the primary rule that you probably want to follow. And one way, this is like strategy, another probably the best strategy you can start with if you're new to content marketing is to share other people's content. So instead of being concerned about how do I create content for all these platforms and how do I do that, I don't even have time right now to do that, follow the top 5 influencers in your niche or industry or in an area that you care about that may overlap with your business. And then really get to know them. Sign up for their newsletter, follow their blog, get in there and comment on their blog posts. If they have direct contact, email is a great way to just say, hey, how are you doing? I really liked what you said about this. And they may follow you on Twitter from that. So I've gotten some really good connections by just jumping in and talking to people and sharing their content, and then they follow me on Twitter or Facebook or whatever. But they know that I promote and share. So you can curate, this makes you a resource for others. You can curate quality content from credible people, and then other people don't have to do that research. You're providing value for them, and you're becoming a resource for them that way. So that's really the best way to do it. The only warning that I would have is to not ask for people to share your content. Once you make friends with them, don't jump in and say, oh, I really want you to share this blog post that I wrote. I think you'll really like it. No, people don't like that. Don't ask them to follow you back, and don't put unrequested links to your content in the comments section of their blogs or whatever they put up. A little self-promotion is okay, and that comes in at some point. And it is definitely a reciprocal game. So at some point, you can expect them to be interested in what you're doing and ask you questions, and then they'll support you and share your stuff. So that is probably the most basic piece of advice I can give to you, is to share first, talk first, comment first, and then you don't have to hurt yourself trying to put together this whole content marketing program without a little bit of a soft entry, I guess would be a good point. So, does anybody have experience with any of the things I'm talking about so far? Has anybody really thought about that? Yeah, so yeah, okay, so a few people. Alrighty. And have you...
What, like, are they blogs?
Yeah, that would be a good idea. So just maybe throw something out there. How do you go about doing that?
I have a content website. I go about it by, I share, we have a lot of articles. I share them on all the different social media sites. I also comment on sites. Now we have a newsletter that goes out to 2,500 people, and we put the articles in the newsletter as well. And then when people post comments on other sites, I sometimes will put the comments also back on our site. I always answer the comment.
Good, yeah. Well, and that's a super important point, is if you're going to put something out there or starting, doing that, be prepared for people to talk to you, because they will. It's not if, it's when, and they will. I mean, usually very responsive right away. There's a lot of enthusiasm out there. So the worst thing you can do is just be like, oh, crickets. You put it out there and don't say anything. So don't be afraid to talk to people, because it is a little hurdle. I went through that, but it's quite doable. So does anybody else want to contribute? Go ahead. Oh. Okay.
I've got a site that has curated media from a variety of sources about a certain niche.
Good. And is it a site you built yourself, or is it something that lends itself to that naturally, then you can share it out? Is it like there's newspaper sites, there's like Paperly, and there's like different social platforms set up to do that? Is it something you built yourself, or is it?
Yes.
Okay.
It's custom built.
Good. Groovy. So do you do that for other people too?
No.
Okay. Just checking, Take the opportunity, we're live streaming. Okay, so, all right, So we know why content is important. It powerfully connects your business to audience and community. And this is, content can be in person. So this is content, and I'm sharing it in person. And there are different functions. You can establish yourself as an expert in your niche, whatever that may be. And think specific, don't think, insurance agencies, and be like the expert out of all the, be the expert on Bainbridge Island, or, the expert in Kitsap County. And then you can build credibility. So this attracts, if you have credible content, it will attract credible people. And then that also builds your trust factor. So people will say, oh, well, she's got so-and-so as a friend, and they've got that blue check mark by their name on Twitter, and woo, she must know what she's talking about, because they will not affiliate with you unless you have something to contribute to their community. So you can kind of check out other people's content and say, well, yeah, they know what they're talking about, and that's great. And then you have an opportunity to build credibility for yourself and your business just by sharing what you know in an intelligent way. So, and you can offer value. Content offers value. It can educate, it can inform, it can solve a problem, it can make people laugh, which is kind of what a lot of people enjoy. They like funny things, and they'll share that all over the place. But offer kind of a variety. And then content is really critical to success with search engine optimization, because your content needs to be search engine friendly, and we'll talk about that a little bit more in the next slide. Yeah, well, we'll get there. That's the, yeah. It's so that search engines can find you. So search engine optimization. So we'll touch on that a little bit more in depth as we go along. So let's see here. So 4 tips to connect. There was some interesting, the most important point, yes, this is why I have my notes, because I'll forget, is to listen. So the most important strategy that you can have is to really just simply listen, is show up. You don't have to speak perfectly. You don't have to have the perfect message. You just have to be willing to be there and listen to what people have to say. So these tips are opportunities for you. You look for opportunities to surprise, delight, inform, or solve a problem. And it's kind of improvisational a lot of times. So people will say something, you're listening to conversation around your brand or topics or other people's brands, and then you can interject your information or your thought in any one of these manners. But just if you keep these 4 things in mind, then you'll be, oh, there's an opportunity. I can inform somebody. If they ask a question on an open forum, you can answer them, and then you start a conversation, and then you're like, oh, let's follow me on Twitter. Let's take this to Facebook. Come look at my website, So, anyways, it's a bear. It's a little panda. Okay, so this is my point. You can do just about anything you want to do that you set out to do, and people will accept you if you are friendly. So this is something I found to be true, that the most appealing, approachable people and brands exhibit behaviors based on the principles of collaboration, sharing, transparency, in their action, and listening. So nobody's trying to cheesy market to you. They really are there to do something for you, and they don't mind being themselves while they do it. So that's kind of a secret. And it really is simple. You listen, be friendly, and I just like that picture is like ugly and adorable at the same time. So I had to put it up there. So keep that in mind. Be a friendly panda. And that goes along with being winsome, authentic, and likable. So here's how to create a connection. So this is another approach for you to use, the how-to in a strategy. Have conversations with empathy for your target audience. So that means you want to know what's important to the specific reader that you want to connect with. So that means you have to do your homework and know who your audience is, have a desired audience, and then find out what they want to hear about, and then just start talking about that to them. And understand that they have interests, challenges, and things in common, and find out what those are, and put yourself in their shoes, and then talk to them about those things. And the other one is to share your passion. So that really covers a lot of newbie gaffes too, by the way. So if you're like me and you're standing up here and this is the first time you've ever talked to a group of people with like mics stuck to you and you're like, live streaming. Okay, I'm really passionate about what I do. So I'm going to tell you stories which convey my passion, and you're going to know that I'm enthusiastic even if I say a lot. So I will not let that stop me from sharing what's important to me, and what's important to me is getting you information which you can use to build your own content marketing strategy. So the natural enthusiasm that you have will inspire and motivate others. And do you guys have any special or particular groups of people or companies or individuals that you are already sparked about and excited about, that you know that they do this and that you can kind of emulate or follow? Or have you...
You mean groups in certain industries?
Yeah, anybody that does this, that is...
I do. There's a friend of mine has started a consignment shop in Silverdale. She's connected to a gal who has one in Kingston, and she's only been at it for about a month, and she got a page going, but she's always posting the new things that have come in and making comments about them, and taking pictures of people in there doing this, and a little bright story. Oh, look, the sun's coming through my window, and just little stuff, not just come in and buy, but little things that are just happening. And it's always nice to see the new stuff that she's got, things like that. So, and that's my first experience, seeing somebody with a page where they're actively always got something going, not cramming their product.
Right. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. So, go ahead.
So one blog I didn't need at all, but I just found so enticing that I actually subscribed to it for quite a while. It was called One Dress a Day. And it was about this,
I know that.
this young woman who was without a job, and she went to thrift stores and had a budget of, I don't know, $1, $2 or whatever, that she would buy some big ugly moo-moo or whatever was on sale for $1. And then she would alter it and she would wear it that night. So, you know, she had these amazing restrictions, and then the story was what she did under those restrictions, and it was just so much fun. And eventually, you know, she got paid sponsorship for her blog and blah blah blah. But I mean, it started off as just a good idea, and she just needed to get something going. And I think, you know, that one dress a day idea, you could say, all right, I'm going to put out one recipe a week, or I'm going to put out one how-to a month, or, you know, develop something that is fun, inspiring, and potentially even dependable like that, so that your audience gets accustomed to, like, anticipating what you're going to put out next.
Yeah, because you involve the person in your creative process. So go ahead.
I have a question about sharing content that you find. Do you do that by giving an attribute, copying it and pasting it into your message, or do you put a link in? There's two really primary ways of sharing other people's content, or your own for that matter. You can do the same thing. A link, if you copy a link, for example, into a Facebook post, say you want to share a Facebook post, well, maybe the share isn't working from that website that has the content that you want to share. You can copy and paste the link, and then Facebook will pull in the little picture, the thumbnail, and it'll fill out the body of that. So all it needs is the link to be able to link to the content in the Facebook post. So if you go in and you update your status on your timeline, you can copy and paste a link into that box, and it'll pull in the content that you want, the link to the content. And then, so if you want to share that way, so there's two ways to share it. So that's just an example. Most content on the web has share buttons. So all you need to do is click on the like button, and it'll pull open your Facebook post, and it'll share to Facebook, it'll share to Twitter, it'll share wherever the button sends it, basically. So have you ever shared content from a website before?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been avoiding Facebook, so.
Yeah, well, you know, I did too for quite a while. So.
e-news, say, for example, if you're doing e-news, and I did do some links recently to some TED Talks.
Yeah, you can definitely embed links in your other content, and that's a really great way. So like if you're going to write a blog post or send a newsletter and you want to link to the content, that's a really, really good idea. And that helps, depending on the situation, it will help you establish credibility with Google and search engines so that you're linking to and from different resources.
So link is the best way.
Yeah, I think if you want to embed something in a document that you've made, use the link. Unless it's a video, because you can embed a video too, so yeah. Do you have a question?
I was just going to add, but what you can't do is just copy the content and stick it on.
Right, you can't copy and paste it in.
You've got to,
So,
Like more than an attribution, you can't copy it.
yeah.
You can't copy something, and it doesn't matter how many attributes you give. You can't copy it, that's illegal. You can, there's fair use, which is a little more complicated, but you can put, that's why if you do the link, Facebook populates it for you, whoever does that, or LinkedIn does it as well, you can do that, but you can't just, like you like this article, copy and say, oh, thanks to so-and-so, they did a great job, that's illegal.
You can have your own little blurb about that article, like there's a certain amount of quoting you can do, but what Karen's saying is when you get past that sort of small amount of quoting, it becomes an iffy situation, even if you really need it.
You can write anything you want. Here's a great article about such and such, you know, I urge you to read it, or this is, you can do that, but you can't copy it and then.
oh, go ahead.
Oh, I would just, it sounds like the more you're able to add your own impression of how the link you're sending makes you feel or think or change how you'll approach things.
Yeah.
That's the value.
Yes, exactly,
It's not just
exactly.
a link.
Right. So you can write an article yourself, a blog post around a certain concept and say, oh, like so-and-so, blah, 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 and then you put the link in. And it's really actually a lot of that goes on.
Yeah.
So it's really actually a clever way to produce your own content and highlight some great people. So, yeah.
You used the phrase build credibility.
Uh-huh.
What if you lose credibility with Facebook and get locked out?
Well, that's between the person and Facebook. So,
How does the person and Facebook do something about that? Particularly if Facebook might be wrong.
Well, that's something actually you'd have to talk to them just like you would any other business. So
How would you talk to Facebook?
They don't answer.
They sometimes do and they sometimes customer service. Well, it really depends, and I don't know the best answer to that question, frankly. It's to problem solve that for you. I would Google it, but also
What was the, so as warning for the rest of us, what was it? Is there an example of what went wrong?
I have no idea what went wrong, but the next time I friended someone, they said I did not know this person, which actually, in fact, I had just been to his wedding, and I can't friend anyone.
Anyone?
You can friend me, but I am blocked to friend anyone because I did something wrong, which I cannot discover what I did, nor can I get them to answer me
Maybe
in
you
any
screwed up
way.
your settings.
I may have. I have no idea.
so yeah.
Well, that's an interesting question. Probably one we need to dive into separately, but that's a really important question because I think people do respond unfairly.
So definitely the credibility I'm focusing on here is your professional credibility through your content. So that's a good question though. So what I would like to share most about this is to think of your messages and signals that you are sending to your desired audience as similar to, Leslie said bait, and then I thought about it and I'm like, nectar is such a prettier way of putting it, which draws the bee, right? So you are fishing, but you want to catch the right fish. So
More fluff.
right. So this is my analogy that I came up with. I love my analogy. So the bee, like the person, this is so pretty, will gain something sweet for taking the time to visit, and like the bee, will have a pollinating effect. So the bee gains something but also takes something away to share. So it's something you want to be able to share out that also does work for you. So the whole point is that the bee's doing work work for you by sharing. So they're doing a lot of the marketing for you. So your marketing efforts are actually exponentially, amplified. That's the word I'm looking for. Okay, so here's my next slide. Don't be a fake panda, because we want to remember that, and I love his like, hey baby face, because I'm like, no. Remember, the best strategy in creating and sharing content and conversation is to be genuine. So people will know if you're not the real thing, and they'll ding you for it. You'll get called out in public, and it's not fun. So, and it can be something as simple as, you didn't reference my Twitter handle in that tweet you retweeted. You really should not do that. Okay, and they'll do it publicly. So it's kind of like, a little embarrassing, but it's fun all the same. So I'm going to move on to a little bit different topic, which is related. Have you guys heard of Hubspot? Yeah? Love Hubspot. Okay. Hubspot, well, it's complicated. So it's a service provider for social media, and they don't provide social media. They help you track and analyze for sales purposes your content. So they are extremely educational. I love HubSpot. I love them because when I follow people that work at HubSpot on Twitter, they follow me back. And they talk to me. So they're like really accessible. They're all of the things that a company I feel should be when interacting with somebody. So
a paid service that will analyze your...
It is, yeah.
And I will say, things may have changed, but it at least used to be very pricey, so it's more aimed at enterprise.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that there's incredible value for all of us.
Absolutely, because you can take away processes and strategies and updates for changes in the landscape from HubSpot, and they're wonderful about sharing.
Gather a lot of nectar from
Yes, lots and lots. So I'm not a HubSpot. I'm not affiliated with any of these. I'm not a certified anything with any of these companies, and I don't use this product, but I love the company. So I will always have them like right in my pocket when I'm thinking.
So they have like a website that you can...
They do. It's HubSpot.com.
So what you're saying is, when you were saying gathers the information, you can read from their website.
Yep.
You don't necessarily have to buy it.
No.
They'll bug you right away to sign up for a newsletter and say yes, because they will offer amazing content.
Right.
And you can even ask me after class. I've got some binders full of it. I can point you to their links so that they get their value out of you downloading it from them. But it's amazing stuff.
But that service is free.
Oh yeah, that's their
marketing.
That's their social gift out to the world to get, to build the relationship with you. Lots of free content.
They're smart.
The Valpak.
Yeah, they're Valpak.
Yeah.
So, and this really sums up content marketing. By aligning the content you publish with your customers' interests, you naturally being the keyword here, attract inbound traffic, people coming to you that you can then convert, close, and delight over time. I like that, delight them over time. So that should be also something that you strive to do. So that's okay. So we're gonna go here. This is something I played around with this morning. I like it. And it's very red. But that's okay. Red is not the happy color sometimes, but that's all right. So here's a little cycle. So this is the content marketing strategy cycle. It's also called permission or earned marketing, because you're not disrupting them to get your message out. You're asking, you're inviting, you're sharing, and then they say, yes, I want to hear what you have to say. So this is a really something that you can put into use. So the first piece is, of course, how do you attract your traffic? You attract it with good content and other things that are attractive to people, right? And you want to convert those visitors to lead in your sales funnel. So this really is this is where we get more into the sales part, and this is a marketing technique. And then you have leads to sales, so you're trying to get them to buy into your product. The idea then, mostly with information or services of software, sort of, they have a subscription for the initial part, you know, the initial service. Like take LinkedIn, for example. They have an upgrade to professional. You're a pro, but you pay a certain amount a month to do that on LinkedIn. Otherwise, it's free. There are other higher levels that you can pay for more service. For if you're a recruiter, for example, or you're in HR and you want to look for hiring people. So it just depends on how you use it. But that's an example of turn customers into repeat customers, and it's actually not just repeat customers, but customers that will pay more over time for more products or services. So you want them to, you know, maybe they'll pick up, oh, I want you to design my website. Okay, well, design my, oh, you know, I want you to throw in an SEO package. Well, that's another piece. Or I would like you to help me put this together. So they'll just keep coming to you for more. You want to be the person that they come to for that service. And then another important part is your testing. So there's really, I love this about this sort of marketing approach. You're allowed to make mistakes, you know, within a certain latitude. You're allowed to test things out and see if they work, you know, and there are certain, this is a little more in-depth, there's different ways to perform analysis and whatnot, but you're analyzing people's response, and then all you have to do is keep doing what they like and stop doing what they don't like, and repeat what works. And don't be afraid to make changes. Don't be afraid to break something that's not working or redo it, because you're basing your work, how you provide service, what you're doing on the feedback that you're getting from people. When they read your content, they respond to it. They say, you know, can you do this? I'd really like to see, you know, a service that does this. We'll say, oh, I could do that. I could make that happen. And then be that person that solves their problem. The other really key piece to that is the social piece, and it's share it far and wide. You know, like just get it out there, talk about it, be enthusiastic. Nobody's going to tell you that you're talking too much about what your favorite things are. And really that's it. That's where the social media part comes in. And then when people start saying good things, like, wow, I really like what you did, say, oh, well, let's post that comment. You know, see, so-and-so's happy. Look, we made them happy. And the joy just spreads. And it can work in the opposite direction, too. But we aren't going to do that. So,
could we go back?
yeah, do you want to go back to the slide? And
Well, I just think this is really key, so I just wanted to see if there
that's important.
take some time for some questions and all that. There's some pieces of this that, you know, we can't say everything that there is, but does it make sense, like when how you convert convert visitors to leads? So if you're, what you'll notice right away when you join HubSpot or when you get a HubSpot newsletter, just look at what they do. You know, their processes are what you want to emulate. So they'll take you to a little form and they'll say, you know, thanks for choosing to download our social media guide for how to turn leads into sales, right? And then they'll have a little form and you'll be filling out that form. Well, they're capturing you as a lead when they do that, right?
Right. That's a good point, because there are points in the sales process that are recognizable.
It might be helpful to like take these different examples and have someone that's got a real website like Karen. How does Karen convert visitors to leads? How does that show up on her website, or someone else that has a website turning customers into repeat customers? What you use certain tools, right, on your website to do these things. Is that what this model tells us?
That's part of it. Because there are analysis, for lack of a better term, there are ways to analyze data for your website. Also for, like, if you have a blog, a WordPress blog, some of those are very basic. And then some of those are a lot more in-depth depending on the service provider you use. So it's you taking the data about your visitor and that they give you and turning that into actionable it's information that you turn into an action and how you relate to them. And that's the part where the repeat customer thing, because then you're tailoring your content to what they're showing you or where they're at in the funnel. If that makes sense.
Is this a sequential model?
Sort of.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say the targeted content is the central thing, and you could almost draw little spokes out to it, because each of those things can be taken on their own. And I would say to go clockwise. It just kind of, the sharing it actually anytime, any place. That's kind of something that floats. But the attract, convert, sales, repeat, analyze. That's the process. Go ahead.
And I think I love this slide. And I think if you remember back to last week when I was drawing a sort of a hub and spoke model where you had the outpost was your social media, and you were driving people from the social media to your content, and then from your content to your website. This is really another way of looking at that, right? Because you're starting with your content strategy in the middle, you're sharing it out with those outposts, those social media platforms. And so you're pulling, you're giving away goodies, you're saying, hey, we got some nectar over here. So, they'll come into your website to find the content, you'll capture their leads, and that's not necessarily easy. That's one of the things that HubSpot does for their customers, is they create landing pages for their customers.
Yeah.
So that you're making sure that you're taking advantage of that stuff.
And there are different ways to do that. So when you convert a visitor to a lead, that might mean something different for you than it means for HubSpot or Karen or whatever. So you could say my goal is to get 600 people to send my newsletter to. How am I going to reach them? And you can have a landing page then that you offer it up. So you sign up for my newsletter here, and it pops up, or it's up there on the side, So your goal may be different than just getting the sale. So the conversion to leads part is really actually open to interpretation depending on what your business model is. So you want to overlay that over your business model, see where those points line up, and then use this the way that you need to use it. And it may not be precisely.
Does anybody here have examples of things that you've done that might fit into one or more of these?
Sure. And since it's in red,
I know.
it's really neat thing about the targets. They're red. The bullseye is always red. And so when I have a shotgun approach, I sell consulting, and I sell stories, and I sell turning your story into your story. So when I sell fairy tales, quality, and cultural diversity within secondary schools, it doesn't work. Unless I'm telling stories about those things. But if I sell story strategies, and that's my target, then people respond. And if I give that away, or share it with far and wide, and just keep putting new tips up on how to do that, and say or how the speaker doesn't say within the story, and stay really on that target. I think that's the most important. We don't hit anything unless we have a target. If we don't aim, we don't hit it. So that's the one I have to remind myself over and over and over and over.
So let's say you haven't implemented your marketing strategy perfectly yet, or even at all. What ideas might you have that would impact your business? In other words, interpreting this for what you might be able to do. Do you have any thoughts? Does this bring any ideas to mind about how this could relate back to what you do?
One challenge that in answer to your question is that if you bring people to your page, whatever page it is that you've commented, make sure that page has something on it for them to do. You need a call to action, because it doesn't do you any good if they all come there and they read and they leave. So whatever's on that page that you're bringing them to, you need to have some call to action on there. And it could be sign up for your newsletter, it could be here's more information about the topic, but you have to have something else there, because
Does it count just to put a link to another page on your website, just to keep them moving through your?
Yeah, you want to kind of get them stepping up your ladder, whatever that is. So, you're deepening your relationship with them. So the call to action is asking them to take the next step in the relationship with you.
And even if it's something as simple as, want to find out more about this? Click here. Like you can, then that'll take them into another area of information or activity. So yeah, you don't want them to just visit that page and then be like, oh, that's nice. Bye.
And that's so easy to do. I'm so guilty of that myself. So don't, this is not like slap your hand. This is just trying to point out opportunities that
Exactly.
you've been missing.
Yep. Okay, so anybody else have anything to? No? Yes?
Well, I'm in the insurance industry, and one of the things that pisses me off, pardon the expression, but you go to any insurance agent's website and they want you to fill out, and I don't like this, so I don't do it because it really annoys me. They want you to fill out your information about you so they can call you.
Right.
And I actually did that one day to find out what would happen. Oh my God. And I mean, I've still been inundated with emails and things from people I don't know from Seattle. Why would I want to deal with a Seattle agent on Bangor Joplin?
Yeah, I mean, that's a very good point, so don't do that.
I mean,
and don't be like them.
That's one of the things I put in there. I want to have an agent.
Right, yeah, don't be that person, be real.
And it's one of the things, and that's the thing that all the insurance companies recommend that you have on your page, your landing page, is something that people can fill out personal information, then it comes to the agent, flows to the agent, and then you contact that person back. Okay, so I'm in insurance, and don't ask me why I find that irritating, but I won't do it, and I find it highly irritating, because to me, insurance is a really one-on-one relationship.
Well, and so what I would say about that is that they forgot the trust piece, right? They didn't wait to develop the trust with you.
Right.
They didn't
earn it.
They didn't earn it. They didn't earn
Yeah, so
I'm not doing that.
You can blog about that you don't do that.
Oh, no, and I really dislike it.
Yeah.
A lot.
You can,
Sets you apart.
yeah, you can write about it.
Say, do you guys,
I don't even know how to blog here.
Okay.
you can say, do other people, does it drive you bonkers that you get emails from people because they ask for your name? Well, I don't do that because I want to meet you one-to-one.
That's perfect.
That's a really good
Take that and use it.
Caroline wanted to jump in.
Oh, I was
Go ahead.
just going to say that on my website, when people sign up for the newsletter or the free song, that comes right up. It's stated on the website, it's stated on the page that comes up, and it's also stated on the email they receive that I do not share the contact information. So that's something
That's good.
easy to do.
Yeah, just don't do it. Okay, yeah, well, some people. All right, this is another favorite picture because this is for me.
Are you a Kiss?
No. Actually, I think it's funny. And I thought, I was thinking Kiss, and when I Googled it, I pulled up all this Kiss stuff. Some kind of inappropriate stuff, but I didn't post that up here. So I was like, this is fun. I'm going to put this up here. So this is a good reminder, and it keeps levity.
The only problem is they stick their tongues out.
That's disgusting. I don't have a picture of that. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so here's a good thing to talk about. Kind of getting quickly back, and we'll kind of wrap it up here in a little bit. But has anybody? You guys have heard of inbound marketing, right? We just talked about that a little bit with HubSpot. HubSpot is about inbound marketing.
Just contrast it with outbound.
Yeah, so that's the good point. So let's get my list here. Well, outbound marketing is like email, advertising, like radio spots, anything that's push marketing. We're talking about pull marketing. So advertising, things like that. Do you have anything to add?
Yeah, no, I think that's good.
Okay.
you're enticing them to come to you
Right.
instead of pushing your message.
Exactly. So inbound marketing actually consists of two processes. It integrates two processes. So you have the content production, which we've been talking about, and it's really website focused or blog site focused. And then the other piece of that is sharing that content on social platforms or social media marketing. So you have three terms: inbound marketing, social media marketing, content marketing. But inbound marketing is the umbrella term for the two actions that you take when you produce content. This is how that works. So when you hear that term inbound marketing, especially if I'm sending you to Hubspot, you'll want to know what they're talking about, so you don't have to be like, what is they talking about? It's confusing. I had to Google all these terms when I first started, so I've already done all the work for you, and that's why I'm telling you today. So does anybody have any questions, any confusion about how those two pieces go with that? Okay. All right. So we talked a lot about content marketing, and I'm just going to remind you that social media marketing is different because it's shorter posts. So don't get on there and post your blog in a long comment on Facebook. If it's blog length, don't post it on Facebook. Write a blog and then share it on Facebook. So focus is within the social networks versus the website when you talk about social media marketing. It's used as a means of distribution, not necessarily publishing of content. So when you're doing content marketing or publishing, think of yourself as a publisher, and then you're sharing it through social media. Leslie already mentioned funneling or linking people to their website for the main content or action steps, like signing up for a newsletter and that sort of thing. And then there's a great place, that's where conversation takes place, and that reciprocal relationship is really built. So here's social media marketing is the piece where you have conversation and you follow up and you build a relationship with people who have responded to your content. Is a really good way to think about that. So this will be up. So if do you guys are you making notes on this, or do I need to? You're good? All right. So creating lovable content. You might hear that when you visit HubSpot again. Lovable content is relevant to the people who are reading it. It's friendly to them, so it's not hard for them to read. It doesn't have a bunch of information and links that don't go anywhere. The links work, so if you reference an article, please make sure your link works, that kind of thing. So it's user friendly. It's not spammy. So again, it doesn't contain fluffed out, like when you write your content and you want a search engine to find you, you'll put keywords in your content so that when people search, they can find you, because Google will say, aha, there's an article that says something, 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 so I'm going to serve that up to the searcher. So you don't want to fill it with spam to trick Google into, people won't get any value out of keyword stuffed, say you're an Apple seller and you can write apples only so many times so be really specific. Bainbridge Island apples, Town and Country apples, Gala apples for sale at the roadside stand when I went to Port Townsend, that kind of thing. It's different than apples all over the place. So keep your content focused on other people. It's not about you, it's about what you can do for others. You're sharing your stories to make that clear, but have you ever looked at a website where they're like, me, and I can all about me, and it's really irritating. So, and you think, well, that's awesome, you're a rock star, and I'll be moving along now. So be consistent. So there's that other thing, be consistent in the quality and tone of your message. Some people say, try to be trendy, be yourself. So don't use jargon. So when somebody says, I'm a marketing ninja, I'm a cowboy, I'm a Jedi, those are all marketing terms that people grab onto and include in their stuff, and you can't be all of those things at once, which I really did see somebody try to do that, and I was like, wow. So just be yourself, be consistent in your message, make it friendly, make it lovable, and I think I covered that, so we're going to move on.
Once you go back to searching, be relevant to searching.
Yeah, let's talk about search engine optimization. Okay, so I have some more specific information about that for you. So search engine optimization is the part of content creation, which helps ensure that Google, Yahoo, and Bing will recognize your content as relevant to someone who enters search terms. So doing that is called using keywords or key terms. So when you think about the person looking for your product or service, not your company name, not your name, because people aren't going to search for your company name unless they are specifically referred to you. Think about what people will look for using those search terms. What search terms will they enter in Google when they're looking for you? So if it's Bainbridge Island apples, put Bainbridge Island apples in your content in a, if it is about apples, and make sure it's relevant. And then Google will help return that, your content, where you posted that, usually on your website or a blog post, to the searcher. So if you build your content, if you write with that in mind, most people will do that naturally because they're talking about their product or service or whatever they're doing. So they're going to naturally include that, but you can really get strategic about making sure that you have at least 4 terms, or words. Usually it's a term works better in your content. And that means you don't have to do anything with the code of your website, which is another part of SEO, search engine optimization. So you don't have to do that. You can just get your content on that, and then that will definitely help.
Search engines prefer it to be in the natural content anyway.
Right.
Right, these days they kind of ignore what's in the code.
Well, either that or they'll push you down in the rankings for spam. So you have to be really careful with how you do that. Go ahead.
So when you say 4 terms or words, and that's in each piece of content.
Yeah. Yeah, and it shouldn't be that hard. Just if you see a place where you can plug something in that makes sense, that will help. Yeah.
Get that each piece of content.
And when you think about content production, you can think about pages on your site too, because blogs and websites have more than one page. So you can optimize each page depending on where you want the person to end up.
What's the name of that website? I can't recall it a second. That tells you which words, you can look at all the words that you're thinking about and it can tell you what the number of people searching for
Google.
to help people. But there's a place on Google that will tell you.
Yeah.
And I don't Analytics.
It's in Google. It's in Google Analytics. I'm pretty sure. I haven't looked at it because I don't remember the URL. But it's in Google itself. You can get on. Google's a great resource for just do what they tell you to do, and you'll be fine.
Obey.
Just obey, and they'll like you. So does that help just kind of clarify how search engine optimization works at a real basic level? Okay, all right, so we're just about done here. Let's see what comes up here. Okay, speaking of search engine optimization, this is something you will recognize when you look at different websites. You'll see their advertising and you'll see him. And he's everywhere. So this is SEO Moz. This is a Seattle-based SEO company. They are a service. They're not a consultancy, so they have software that helps you with your own optimization needs. And they do very well for smaller businesses as well. And they are extremely educational, and they explain complicated SEO terms in a very easy to understand way. So I love SEO Moz and Hubspot. Both of those companies are awesome. So do look at they have a 10-chapter ebook that tells you how to basically what SEO is and how it applies to your business and things like that. So I just like him. You'll see him. Once you've seen him, you'll see him all over other websites because they have advertisements that pop up. That's Roger. Okay. So here are your takeaways, and I made it simple and fun. So be a friendly panda, that's self-explanatory. Sharing is caring, remember that, okay? Listen actively, respond enthusiastically, be relevant to readers and search engines. Follow Roger because he's forceful. Okay, so let your uniqueness shine. You want unique content that reflects you, and that's great. You have a voice, use it. This is a great opportunity. And then keep it simple, sweetie, right? Because if you do all of this, and this is like my favorite kiss picture ever. So yeah. amazing things will happen, woohoo, but you never have to dress like that. See, and I love it. This is what I like about PowerPoints. I can be totally like off the wall, but not as off the wall as some people, right? I want you to remember that above all is the simple part. So that's why I keep drilling that in. And then this is all my stuff, and that's a green, sorry, but this is a wonderful screen. So anyways, that's any questions before I say, okay, this is my contact information, and I'm available for hire to help if you're interested, and I'd love to sit down with you. Okay, go ahead.
How do you shop for your top 5 blog writers that you want to follow?
That's a really...
It's overwhelming to decide.
Right. So, what are you?
I'm kind of at the intersection between mediation, dispute resolution, conflict management, but I want to hit the building, design, industry, creative agencies. So it's kind of like...
Okay. That's a good question. So how I did this, I can't tell you who to look for, but how I did it when I very first started looking for these connections a couple years ago was I just started exploring, and then I came across Ad Age, which is a, you guys have probably heard of Ad Age. They have like the top, I want to say it's over 1,000. They keep a list of over 1,000 bloggers and influencers, and they compete. So people's position changes. I'm like, I'll do 150, and then I'm like, no, I'm not going to follow 150 to start with. I think 100 is sufficient. And how I did it was I was very email oriented at the time, still a little bit that way, but you don't have to go to them. You can just subscribe, pick through, and just pick your top. That's how I did it. I started big and narrowed it down, which is kind of my style. I don't know. Anyway, and I wanted to know everything. I had the time to do it. So I'm like, yay, I'm going to read about social media, blah, 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 and find out Chris Brogan and Mashable, and oh yeah. So you will cover the top 50 in that if you want, but you'd have to go to an industry relevant publication or site.
Okay.
So if you know the names of people that you look up to, you can start there.
Yeah.
And find out if they're there, and then start Google top 10 influencers in creative marketing, top 10 influencers and use the word like influencers or like creatives or what's another good one?
You mentioned Mashable, didn't you?
Yeah.
So Mashable would be a good resource for you anyway, just learning about social media. It's not going to be your niche for influencers, but it is a great way to see a lot of resources on social media. It's actually pretty overwhelming.
Yeah.
But it's a good place to know about.
Yeah, but over time, as you look at it and kind of pick through it, you'll discover which ones you want to read, and the other ones that you just like, I'll read it later or delete it. Then those are the ones you probably don't want to, get your inbox stuffed full of. So
I can say, for instance, it's really what intrigues you. Like, if you're attracted to that content, and if you want to share that with your peeps, chances are that's what's going to work for you in your business as well.
Right.
And so shareable.net is one that I love because it's kind of specific to the new sharing collaborative economy. And I love being able to pull from that newsletter and create little articles in my newsletter or put them in the blog or whatever. And so almost every single newsletter that comes in, if I don't have time to read it, I drag it into a folder that says next newsletter. Like, those are my resources for when I have to build, and I don't even read it because I know it's chock full of good stuff.
Yeah.
So that's, and I have a couple futurists that I follow, and it's, they're your mentors. Think of them as your online mentors.
Yeah, so it's definitely the areas that appeal to you. What, again,
PBS.org.
Yeah.
That's another one.
They'll be credible, and then there'll be information you can share.
Project for Public Spaces.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
That's one that she and I share.
So does that help?
Yeah, it does help.
Okay.
It helps. I think I'm just we all have to spend a lot of time fishing.
Yes,
To put in
yes.
time.
Right.
Those are really good places
Right.
to go start fishing.
Right.
like
Yeah, exactly.
ocean.
Yeah, and see what you drag in with your net and throw out the bad ones.
And then, you know, find out from your colleagues what's good too. You know, like we all here could probably come up with some really good ones that we share in common, even though we each have our own very specific business domains.
Okay.
What's really cool is when you're calling somebody who's really an influencer and then they call you back.
Isn't that the best?
Yeah, that's the whole reciprocity thing that is kind of human nature because we're humans and we have natural reciprocity expectations. But then there's kind of the specifics of social media and you kind of need to get familiar with those rules. Or it doesn't feel natural in the beginning and then later go, oh yeah, that's kind of like sending a thank you note, you know, when you go to someone's house for the weekend or whatever.
Right.
So, Lena, this was amazing. Thank you very, very much. Ton of time into this presentation and it shows. It really shows.
Thank you.
This is really
Thanks.
fabulous. So, and Steve Stolee has been recording it for us, so you'll be able to go back and see it online and review it. And Robert's been streaming it for us, Robert Reinhardt. Aren't we lucky? So